Chelsea v Everton 1978, the Battle of Kensington High Street. In August 1978, Everton fans travelling to an away fixture at Stamford Bridge suffered a terrible beating off the pitch as a well-organised Chelsea mob attacked them after the match in the tube station at Kensington High Street. It was apparently revenge for a beating Chelsea fans got at Goodison the season before. And sorry, there are no videos of the match or the incidents. Everton fan Rob tells his story. So it was first game of the season at Stamford Bridge. Uneventful day until we got escorted to the subway train. Chelsea were everywhere trying to infiltrate the police escort and attack. We held firm and got on the train with a sigh of relief, and the train headed to Euston. Unfortunately, it stopped at Kensington High Street. 3 words to strike terror into any Evertonian there that day. I still have nightmares about the tube pulling into the said station and praying the doors wouldn't open, because waiting at that station were hundreds of Chelsea, if not thousands, mostly armed to the teeth with baseball bats, flares and fire extinguishers. They were waiting to smash windows and break open doors. Unfortunately for us, the doors opened automatically, as they did for most underground stations, and Chelsea piled onto the carriageways. I mean, it was a slaughter. Some of us fought back, but pretty much huddled together, praying it wasn't you that got the stabbing or the bat. I was lucky, I only got hit with a bat a few times, but I know some Evertonians who never went to another match because of this event. Such was the trauma. I won't describe some of the injuries, let's just say they were very serious. Some Everton had to jump onto the tracks and scarpered into the tunnels. When the police eventually arrived, they had the nerve to blame Everton fans for wrecking the tube. The long walk back to Euston with everyone so wound up and hoping to encounter more Cockneys, to take our revenge, but it never happened. I just wanted to get home. It turned out that this was a well-known tactic of theirs, and they tried it all the time. Sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't, but this day, it certainly did. In all my years of supporting Everton, I can honestly say that this was the worst carnage ever applied upon us, and to think it pretty much happened again 7 years later at Edgeware Road is incredible. November 1978, revenge match. Everton v Chelsea. Everton fan Steve told us, "I didn't go to the Chelsea away game, but I obviously knew people who did and were stabbed or battered. So outraged, Scousers joined together and sprayed the infamous graffiti outside Lime Street Station for everyone to unite together for Liverpool's corresponding fixture and serve the Cockney hordes with some payback. It simply read, 'Ordinary to Chelsea.' We all knew what it meant. The return revenge game 3 months later. That was without any shadow of a doubt the ugliest atmosphere I have ever sensed at Goodison. This was the game when some Chelsea fans tried to get into Goodison Street. I remember standing just behind the goal when there was a commotion to my right and a mini stampede. Apparently some Chelsea fans had sneaked into the street end, and when it kicked off at the park end, it was like a signal for them to start. I recall seeing them getting carried out by the police and St John's AB rather bloodied and worse for wear. Tony told us, "I was in the enclosure, couldn't believe what I was seeing as 20 yards away, some of our lot were in the Chelsea end, were diving in and kicking off. It was insane. The enclosure mob unleashed waves of objects and peeps ran over the pitch into Chelsea. Insane. Inside the ground. Could hardly happen today, thank God." Chelsea fan Ian told us, "It's not often I say this, but we got slaughtered up there that day. I mean, it was like the whole of Merseyside was waiting for us. We took a great mob as well, as everyone knew they would be out for revenge after the Kensington High Street battering they took. But it didn't start very well, with one of our firms trying to take the Goodison Street end and got battered. Then we were constantly attacked in the park end with scallies jumping the fence to infiltrate our end and stab and cut our lads. After the match it was carnage. They were everywhere, cutting and slashing and battering any Chelsea. It's the one and only match where I had to ask the police for protection. Luckily, a few of us did get an escort of sorts, but I believe even the old Bill were in on it. The revenge was complete. Chelsea got battered that day from pillar to post. There's no other way of putting it. Revenge would come, but would take 7 years. 8 of our guys ended up in hospital, and it was only the massive police presence that stopped that count from getting worse. Chelsea v Everton, October 1985. The cast assembled, as they usually did for London games, at the Bonington Hotel on Southampton Row, just after 11 a.m. on 12th October 1985. The guys were in good spirits, optimistic about our prospects for the afternoon game with Chelsea at the Bridge. After all, we were the champions. We came from all over the UK, bound together by our love for Everton. We had met over a number of years, going back to the early 70s, seeing each other at the match. Our hostelry of choice for home games was the Royal Oak. We set off in good time and made it trouble-free to the ground. In those days, Stamford Bridge was not the bastion of the prawn sandwich that it is today. The away terracing was uncovered and there was some distance between it and the pitch. The infamous shed was at 11 o'clock as you looked down the ground. As we took up our positions, it started to rain. The football fare on offer was not brilliant. Chelsea went 2 up and missed a penalty before Sheedy pulled one back just before the break. The second half was a battle. Sharp missed a penalty for us, and Big Nev got sent off for 2 bookings in the space of 5 minutes as we hung on for a 2-1 defeat. As we trooped sullenly towards the exits, little did we know that the main action of the day was still to come. We were held back by unusually aggressive police with dogs for what seemed like an age. One of the guys noticed 2 very well-dressed and well-groomed gentlemen waiting to get out with us. He commented on their expensive overcoats, white shirts and dark ties. It turned out that they were Soviet diplomats who, on hearing that the English champions were playing at the ground nearest their embassy, had decided to come and watch. On reaching the ground, they had seen a sign that said visiting supporters and found themselves with about 3,000 scallies. They looked at the barking dogs and commented that they thought they were supposed to live in the police state. Eventually, the police let us go. As we left the ground, we went to turn left to return to the Bonnie as some of the lads were staying there and a few of us lived in London. We were told in no uncertain terms by the police that they were making sure that all of us, scouse bastards, were going to be returned home. We tried to explain that we didn't live in Liverpool and needed to go in the opposite direction, to no avail. The dog handlers lengthening the leads persuaded us to cooperate after all. Once on the tube, we could go anywhere. Our Russian friends flashed diplomatic credentials and wished us goodbye. We were escorted to Fulham Broadway tube station. Amazingly, all the gates were open and we were herded on to waiting trains. As one was filled and left, another arrived. We arranged to get off at the first station we stopped at. Unfortunately, we didn't stop, at least not until we arrived at Edgeware Road. As the train we were on pulled into Edgware Road tube station, it was attacked by literally hundreds of Chelsea fans who proceeded to attack the train with baseball bats, bricks, metal bars and their Dr. Martens. The next few minutes were mad. Having attacked the train unhindered for some time, the Chelsea fans were dispersed by more police than I have ever seen in one place at the same time. Standing in our impregnable steel tube, this was all very amusing. Once the platform was clear, we expected that we would head on our way. However, the doors opened and the police set about us, getting us off the train onto the platform. They gave everyone who came within arm's length a good whack. I escaped and turned to see a young lad being battered over the head by a guy in civvies with a set of handcuffs. All over the platform there were fights going on. Everton v the police, Everton v Chelsea, Chelsea v the police. In all this, Everton fans were definitely not coming out on top. It was carnage. Chelsea fans used the myth that they came onto the train and let women and children off before setting about us. It's rubbish they came on the train and attacked anyone, as did the police. They seemed to work together if you ask me. We were herded back onto the train. Looking around, there were several injuries, and that was just in one carriage. Our group had been split up, and in the days before mobile phones, that meant that we couldn't find out if everyone else was safe. The train stopped at Euston Road, and we were escorted out onto the road and along to Euston Station to be put on a train back to Liverpool, even though we lived in London. We caught up with a few friends, and one noticed the guy who had been hitting the young lad over the head. He was laughing and joking with a red-haired bloke. We went over and my friend asked what all that was about. We were astonished to be told that they were plainclothes British Transport Police officers. I will always remember the reply of the red-haired guy. "Look, if you'd wanted to go, you'd have got to go. You didn't want to go, so what are you complaining about?" We were deposited on a platform at Euston and got together as many of our group as we could find, waited for the train to depart, and left Euston by the side entrance. Most of the lads decided to go back to the Bonnie as some had rooms booked there. I was in shock and went home. We thank all our participants for their recollections into a somewhat clouded event. One person sees it this way and someone else another, but it's clear these three events does still have a bearing on the hatred between the fans. We couldn't find a Chelsea fan who was at the Edgeware Road incident, so we only have the Everton perspective. Anyway, thanks for watching, and please now subscribe for notification of future videos. It really helps our channel grow to give you bigger, better content.